Welcome to the first show of Sakha Sive Off Air. I'm your host, Simpiwe Kukuletu Hlabangane. This is a show where we bring you closer to the guests that we normally interact with on a weekly basis on Sakha Sive. It gives me great pleasure today to welcome to the show Nhlakanipho Tsakane Sikosi. You might know Nhlakanipho as a guest on my show every Tuesday where we talk about everything related to HIV. Nhlakanipho, welcome.
It's nice to be on Sakha Sive of a episode. My name is Nhlakanipho Tsakane Sikosi. I'm really excited to be part of this episode.
Great stuff. HIV, also known as human immunodeficiency virus, is a virus that you get from mainly unprotected penetrative sex. It can also be passed from mother to child during childbirth or through breastfeeding. It can also be transmitted through the use of needles during drug use. HIV is a disease that many South Africans live with, and it's a disease that also unfortunately comes with a lot of stigma behind it, which is why many people find it very difficult to talk openly about their status. Nhlakanipho is one person who has decided to live positively and share his experiences through his daily life with people that are living with HIV. There is life and love after an HIV diagnosis. That's the message Nhlakanipho is sharing through his motivational talks and, of course, the books that he writes with everyone that he comes across. He wants to shed light on the impact that HIV and AIDS has on not just an individual, but on society as a whole. He offers support, hope, and reduces the stigma and increases knowledge about HIV and AIDS. Sianda, we are talking about you living positively with HIV. Let's start by talking about how and when did you find out about your HIV status?
When I discovered that HIV positive, I was very young.
Mm-hmm.
I was 18 years old. I was just a young boy at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was back in 2004. So it's when I discovered that I'm living with the virus.
Were you sick, or did you just voluntarily go to a clinic to get tested?
I wasn't feeling well. Physically and like emotionally, I was going through some stage when I was not feeling well. So I took a decision because I could see that there's something wrong with my body. So I took a decision to go and consult with the nurses at the clinic.
At that stage in your life, were you in a relationship with one individual, or were you still exploring and sleeping and having unprotected sex with many individuals?
To tell you the truth, I was in multiple relationships.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So when I discovered that, no, man, I'm not feeling well.
Yes.
I woke up in the morning, I had to go to the clinic. It's where now I was diagnosed that I'm HIV positive. So it was not easy for me to accept because I was still very young myself. I was not much educated about what is HIV.
When you went to the clinic because you were not feeling well, were you expecting that you could possibly be HIV positive, or was it a surprise to you?
It was not a surprise because I was living a very reckless life when I grew up. So I knew because I knew because I went to see what you call them counselors, the people who deals with HIV. I told them, no, I'm not feeling well. I want to test. Okay. I was only there to test.
Okay.
So I found out that I'm negative. I'm positive. Yes.
And then when you got the diagnosis, what was your first initial reaction? How did you feel?
It was very difficult for me because looking around my community, at that time, people were really not educated. So it was hard for me myself to speak out. But I always appreciate my mother's existence because she's the one that motivated me when I revealed that I'm HIV positive. She supported me all the way. Yes.
So after your diagnosis, did you immediately start treatment, or how long did you wait before you started your treatment?
For me, I did not start my treatment there and then when I discovered that I'm HIV positive. It took me years and years because I started my treatment, I think it was back in 2013, 05 January. It's where I started to take my treatment.
And was that by choice, or was it because of medical advice and doctors not Because I know you have to be at a certain level
Yes.
in terms of your viral load
Yes.
before you can start taking treatment. So that was the reason.
Yes. To elaborate that time, because I always say this, I was in prison.
Yes.
And in prison there was no treatment.
Access. Okay.
And my condition medically, I was not good anymore. I could feel that I'm really now getting sick.
Okay.
So I had to rise up again because I didn't want to take treatment from the first stage.
Okay.
I said, no, I can live without me taking treatment.
Okay.
So now I reached into a stage where I could see that my body, that I have symptoms in my body. So I said, no, I don't want to die because I promised myself that I want to leave a legacy. I said, no, I don't want to die. Let me go to the clinic and tell them, because I've signed a form in prison that I'm not going to take my treatment. So when I could see the symptoms that really now, I'm going to destroy myself, I had to go and consult with them, and they gave me a treatment. After like 2 months or 3 months, I could see my body picking up again. So I was living a healthy life.
A big difference.
Yes.
Okay, so after you were diagnosed, you mentioned that you were incarcerated, you were in prison. But before that period when you knew your HIV status, did it have an effect on your romantic relationships?
Because that time, as I've said, I was very, 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 very young and living a life recklessly. I only realized later, when now I was taking treatment, living a positive life, that I was not supposed to live like I was living previously. Okay, I had so many relationships, and being HIV, it affected my relationship negatively. Because other people, they do not accept whom you are. And when you tell them the truth about your status, they run away from you, and they will also discriminate you.
So you were open about it with your partners?
I was.
Okay.
I'm a very open person. I speak about HIV freely. And as an ambassador, I don't believe in hiding my status wherever I go, because my purpose is to leave a legacy, is to inspire people, is also to encourage our society, because people are dying outside there.
Nhlakanipho, it's also very much a known fact that people are scared to talk about, especially to reveal their status to the people that they interact with on a daily basis. Some even go as far as going into relationships without ever divulging their status. What do you think are some of the causes that make this illness in 2019, in as much as we have come so far with medicines and access to free treatment, that people are still so scared to disclose their status?
I believe why people are so scared to disclose their status is because the pressure and the stigmatization from the community.
Okay.
Some people, they devaluate you, because when someone whom you trust, that person can inspire me, can support me. When a person discriminates you or discredits you of your value, you cannot easily disclose your status. But what has helped Nhlakanipho per se personally, I don't care how the society observe me, because at the end, I will have to interact with a woman to be in a relationship. I have to speak the truth, because if I do not speak the truth, that means somewhere, somehow, I will infect that woman, because we will ending up having sex without using a condom.
Now, stigma is defined as a disgrace associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or person. That in itself is a very fearful situation, because people think because you have HIV, you have done something wrong. Yes, reckless behavior forms part of that, but it's not every situation that is like that. So what do you think needs to happen, especially in society, for people to reduce the stigma towards the disease?
I believe that people have to be educated, especially our black community. Not per se only black communities. Everyone that lives in South Africa, whether you are white, you are colored, you are Indian, you are Swati, you are Zulu, we need more education. I've been traveling around. Some of the people, they lack education. And also there is a scripture that my people are perishing because they lack knowledge. When you lack knowledge, you will live your life anyhow. And you might, by your own words, negative words, you might as well devaluate people who are living with this condition, with this virus. So when you are more educated, it's easy for you to understand what is HIV. Yeah, education is power.
Education is power. Many people, especially males. Now I'm looking at this from a point of view of gender. Many in relationships, men are still getting tested through their partners. If my partner is HIV negative, that means I'm also HIV negative because we are together. Not taking into account before relationship. So how would you, especially because you are male, how would you, or what would you say, especially to men that are listening to us today, who are so fearful of going to get tested, but perceive or think that because their partners are negative, and remember now we spoke about people not disclosing.
Yes.
So you might be living with somebody and you thinking they're negative because they look good, not knowing that in secret they're taking care of their health. So which brings to light how important it is for everybody to get tested, whether you're in a relationship or not, whether you're in a marriage or not. It is very important for every individual who is practicing any form of sexual activity to get themselves tested. How would you say, or what would you say to men listening to us right now on the importance of getting tested for HIV?
It's very important. And in some circumstances, I've met people like that who judges their current status by their partners, of which is wrong. I personally, as Nhlakanipho Tsakane, when you look at me, I got no. I'm not sick. I got no symptoms. So it's easy to lie to someone that I'm not living with the virus. So some people are living with their partners, not testing themselves whether they are negative or positive. So as a man, it's important just one day you wake up, you decide today that I want to go into a clinic and really make sure whether I am negative or I am positive. So I will advise anyone who is listening, it's important, maybe let me say 4 times a year do your checking, maybe once after 3 months, because there is a process called window period. That period is very dangerous and it has affected many people. You go once, you test, you are in window period. The virus does not show. It does not mean you don't have a virus. You have a virus, just that it's dormant, is not showing. So you must always make sure that constantly you go to the clinic and check. Yes.
Now let's talk about support, because I don't think you would be here talking so openly. Like you said, your mother was the very first person who showed you support by accepting you and your status. How important has support been in your life?
It's very vital. It's one of the vital sources in my life. Once my mother gave me her helping hand, I was able to arise and move forward and say there is someone who is behind me, especially my mother. It was hard to tell my father, not knowing that my father will support me as well. And my father said, no, every month I will make sure that I buy you fruits, everything, I will send you money. And also my father, I want to say this, he also supported me because he knew my condition. So support, it's very important. I would like to advise the listeners, at home you have someone who's affected or infected, it's your role to support them, because the more we support them, we show them love. People feel appreciated. People feel easily to live. So we must support our brothers and sisters or our uncles, mothers who are infected by this virus. Yes.
Now, we also get to the side where I know my status, I know that I'm HIV positive, but I am not looking after myself. I am being reckless. I am still not following the doctor's orders, not eating right, not exercising. I'm drinking a lot. I'm partying a lot. I'm sleeping around, unprotected sex. What would you say to people who are still living that lifestyle, knowing that they're HIV positive?
You see, good behavior, it will expand your lifespan. even though you're on treatment. My purpose, my aim is to live longer by maintaining a healthy, positive lifestyle. Living recklessly, it will destroy my brain, it will destroy my health in my body, it will also destroy my dreams because I'm a dreamer. As I'm sitting here, I'm a visionary. That means if I don't follow the doctor's order, the whole prescription of using my medication, I'm also going to die because my belief, and I always tell people, HIV is not a death sentence. Unless if you don't take your treatment correctly, you're living a bad life, bad behavior, performing unprotected sexual activities. So you must always make sure that you live a right life in order for you to maintain a healthy lifestyle.
So how did you manage to love yourself in spite of your status?
Okay, that's a good question. You see, there are things, they are underestimated, but they always motivate me.
Okay.
You see a mirror. A mirror it's a smaller thing. I mean, I always go in a mirror every morning and look at myself. Say, no, you know what? I am handsome. I don't want to die. So no matter that, besides being HIV positive,
yes,
I have a reason to live. So once you discover that in life, your purpose is more powerful. Once you discover your purpose, whatever condition that you have, whatever condition that you are going through, you must know that being HIV, it's not a demarcation or a limit. You can still live a healthy life.
So there you have it, folks. As you heard it firsthand from Nhlakanipho Tsakane Sikosi, who is living positively with HIV, there is life after HIV. Now, Sianda, I'm also very much aware that you spent time in prison.
Yes.
And you wrote a book entitled You Are Born to Win. Tell us about what inspired you to write this book.
When I arrived in prison at the age of 19, I was convicted to 38 years for 18 cases. I was very young. I had no education. My life was so broken. I thought this is the end of my life. And
what were you in prison for?
I was in prison for 18 cases of fraud, theft, dealing with drugs, theft by false pretense, car theft. I was there for many cases, just to name the few cases that I've been there for. So now discovering, because it's very important in life to discover whom you are, your identity. Discovering my identity and my purpose in life, it makes me to have time to have my own time to introspect myself. It's where I discovered now the value in me and the gift of writing books. So being broken in prison, and after so many instances where I wanted to commit suicide, I discovered the capability and that my belief system that I can do whatever I want to do and achieve while in prison. So I started to have a vision of writing books, but I did not know how to publish a book. So I started to write that book. As you see that it's titled You Are Born to Win. So I saw myself as a winner in prison. Yes.
It's a very thick book, which makes me believe it's based mainly on things that you have experienced in and out of prison. But how was it living in prison, especially now that you knew your HIV status? How was the acceptance from the other inmates? You mentioned that access to medication was not easy. Just tell us a bit about how it was living as an HIV positive individual behind bars.
First of all, being a custodian, it's not easy. It's very hard. You are given certain rules. Your rights are being deprived and your privilege, even to exercise freedom. So it was not an easy thing for me. Knowing my status that I'm HIV positive, that what causes me to commit suicide. I've tried many times, but I did not die. Knowing that I'm HIV positive, it was not easy for me to accept. When I arrived in prison 2004, there was no treatment at all. You could sleep in a prison cell. You will find that maybe 4 inmates, they had what you call AIDS, not HIV anymore. They died inside. So we created a structure and a support group and a team in prison with people who were speaking boldly and bravely about being HIV. We fought. We went to a hunger strike, said we want the treatment in prison. So sharing my story in prison with the inmates, because I've started to be an ambassador while in prison, it was not easy. When you enter cell to cell to tell them that you want to inspire them, you could see the condition people who are dying in prison. It was not easy. Some will reject you, some will speak about you. So accepting myself while in prison, it's what motivated me to live a positive life.
And the support when you started to try and gather and form that structure that would fight for your human rights to get medication in prison, how was that?
It was a huge struggle. It was a huge struggle because we could go for hunger strike for 14 days without eating food, and you are HIV positive. So it was not easy. It was not easy. But we wanted what we wanted from the prison authorities and from the Department of Health. I think within 2005 and 6, prison they had full access to medication. Then it's where we started to have different support groups in each section, motivating, inspiring, and encouraging other inmates to live positively.
So you've left a mark in that you have got medication and access to medication for people who are behind bars.
That's true.
That is a job well done on your part and your team. But let's go back to talking about the book. Who do you think will benefit most from reading this book?
Everyone, especially the young people. My aim was to teach young people. I started to do crime at a very young age. I became a prisoner at the age of 12 years. At 13 years, when I was 12 years, it was my first time to stand in a court podium facing the judge. At the age of 13, I was convicted to 3 years, 6 months. Prior to that, when I was 12 years, I was convicted to a suspended sentence under my parents' guardian. So now when I was 13, I was convicted to 3 years, 6 months to go to the reform school. So when I realized as I was in prison that our youth is dying, they are making wrong decisions. So to be a voice through my written words, I said, no, I want to dedicate this book to our youth in South Africa so that they could not travel, no matter walk in my footsteps. Yes.
Learn from you without having to go down the same road.
Yes, that's true.
Now, you mentioned that you were in the system for many years from a very young age. What was happening in your life that led you down that path?
I had no father figure and a man's voice upon my life. My father was always, as you see, my father, I've never spent time with my father up until today. Maybe I only spend 1 month with my father when he's on leave because he's working very far from home. So growing up only with my mother, it has affected me because sometimes you will like disrespect your mother, not like when my father was at home for 1 month, I could behave and live a very well life as if I'm not misbehaving. But once my father is gone, it's where I get an opportunity and a chance to do all the wrong things. So ungabi nayo baba in my life ekhona exister, it has affected me a lot as a child, as a boy that time when I was growing up. So
So which brings to light the importance of a father figure in a child's life, especially a male child.
That's true.
So through your work, because I know that you work with many charities and organizations as well.
Yes.
Do you have any programs where you actually look specifically at the boy child? Because especially these days, we have a lot of programs that cater for the girl child, but it seems that we are leaving the boy child behind.
Yes.
And without facing, you look at gender-based violence today, at the alarming rate that it is increasing. It's because of a lack of foundation in the boy child's life. Do you work with the boy child where you actually have programs that assist them through your organization?
You see, on my understanding, I also believe that I groom young male. I work with them a lot. I've started an organization, which is the New Beginning. Understanding that the reason why I went to prison, it's because I was lacking a father figure in my life. So there are so many males, a boy child that is growing up, maybe living in my condition, and consequences now, you will find that child at the very young age being a prisoner because he did not have a proper father figure upon his life. So I have a program especially for males, which is personal development, where I develop them personally. Whether you have a father figure or you don't have a father, I groom them how to live without a father. Because you have to find a mentor. In my life as a man, I have a mentor. You have to find a mentor, someone who will groom you, someone who will advise you, someone who will shape you. Whether you have a father or you don't have a father, but you need to have a strong mentor upon your life.
Someone you can look up to.
Yes.
Nhlakanipho, as we close off, what last words would you like to leave with our viewers?
I said you have to be determined to leave a legacy. You have to be determined to leave a legacy. And I will tell the listeners, HIV is not the end of the road. HIV is not a death sentence. It's how you behave. It's how you treat your life. Whatever people are saying about you, live positively, live a healthy life. Then you will expand your years on earth. That's the only thing I can say.
And take each day as it comes.
Yes, that's true.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was Nhlakanipho Tsakane Sikosi, who is living a positive life with HIV. There is life beyond HIV. Take each day as it comes and look after yourself. Till next time, you can follow us on our platforms at Likwalakwala FM on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Take care.